morning, everybody in the Who Dat Nation. It's the one and only Who Dat Davis here for you. If you don't know, you will know that over here we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. Now let's go ahead and break it all down. But before we go ahead and break down all the news of black and gold here in the New Orleans Saints S.O.B.G podcast, I'm going to give a shout out to everybody who tunes in regularly to my content. You know what I'm saying? Thank you to Ghostface, thank you to Jerry Poor, thank you to CB, thank you to Carly, thank you to TJ Jones and Big Country over there repping for the Atlanta Falcons. All you guys make this channel to what it is today. I'm entirely blessed. Secondly, as you can see, got the fresh cut as of this past weekend. You know what I'm saying? That's a little side action for you. But let's go ahead and start with me saying that the reason why I didn't make a video yesterday in terms of what they've been doing is simply because I had a feeling that the Saints were going to be a little more, aggressive in terms of what they were going to do this morning. And news broke out, I believe, less than 25 minutes ago from the time this video started, that Janoris Jenkins has been cut. Janoris Jenkins has been cut as of 25 minutes ago from the start of this video. But I'll get into my thoughts on that in a minute. I'm going to start with yesterday in terms of everything the Saints have done since yesterday morning. Let's go ahead and read all the notes here. Start with the restructures. They've restructured left guard Andres Pete and safety Malcolm Jenkins to save a total of $9.4 million in cap space. Andres Pete counts for $6 million. Malcolm Jenkins counts for $3.4. Now those are pretty good. It's considering Andres Pete's contract and his cap hit. So big shout out to Andres Pete, who had a pretty decent season as of 2020 compared to his other starts. So I'm not going to be too mad, but I hope he has a better outing this time around because we definitely need it going forward. Now, Malcolm Jenkins getting a restructure, I didn't see that coming, but I'm not surprised either. They do have a lot of work they need to do to get under the cap. At this point, the Saints are still probably in the $20 or $25 million cap, over the cap range, so a lot of work needs to be done still. They've also cut wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, and they are expected to release linebacker Quan Alexander. Now, the Quan Alexander release is pretty expected. Let's keep it 100 over here in the Who Dat Nation. I'm a guy who loved Quan Alexander's energy. He instantly was an impact. He elevated the defense in terms of his ability to cover out in the flat and cover tight ends and cover running backs. It helped Demario Davis a lot. You've seen how he elevated his play as soon as Quan Alexander hit the field. So it's unfortunate that Quan Alexander had to be cut. But that doesn't mean that Quan Alexander can't be looked at later to be brought back on a cheaper deal if nobody else picks him up. You never know. So that's an interesting little development right there. Now, the one thing that does feel like a cap casualty, and Nick Underhill touched on it yesterday in terms of, and also Chris and Nader, if you guys know those all those three guys over on Twitter. Cutting Emmanuel Sanders definitely feels like a cap casualty. He signed a 2-year deal upon coming to New Orleans. He was that safety net in terms of a reliable number 2. He came on strong after the Week 3 game against the Green Bay Packers. He averaged 61 catches for 726 yards. That's pretty much more than what you can ask for out of your second option at the receiver position. That's more than what Traquan Smith has done in his entire tenure. That's more than Deontay Harris. But so it's going to be hard seeing a guy like Emmanuel Sanders go, especially since we couldn't help him fulfill his goal of getting the Saints a ring. So Emmanuel Sanders, wherever you end up, you're going to be an instant impact. You're a reliable receiver. You've given this receiving core a lot of knowledge, I'm sure, and a lot of elevation in terms of security for Drew Brees and Taysom Hill when he had to step in for Drew Brees when he went down with those injuries. As far as I'm concerned, we didn't use you enough. We didn't use you enough, Sanders. So I hope someone who does end up picking you up uses you how you should be used. I know the 49ers used you a lot better than we did. Now, Quan Alexander, like I said, it's an expected one. 13 million for a guy that's coming off a torn Achilles due to a non-contact injury. You know, that's asking for way too much out of your linebacker. So hopefully he comes back on a much cheaper deal so we can pair him with Demario Davis. Now, this morning, the Saints cut cornerback Janoris Jenkins. That one's going to be felt. Janoris Jenkins had pretty much his best, one of his best seasons as a New Orleans Saint, even though he's only been with us for about 2 years. His last season was definitely felt in terms of, being able to defend those safety nets when the main guy isn't as productive because of Marshawn Lattimore doing his thing on the opposite side of the field. Janoris Jenkins accounts for so much in terms of the secondary for the New Orleans Saints. Now, I put him as a top 15 corner in the 2020 season. I wouldn't say top 10, but he was definitely top 15, and that's actually pretty good. And so we look at all the other talent that's going on in the league, and add into the fact that there's top corners coming out of the 2021 draft class. And speaking of that draft class, for those who haven't been paying attention, because you don't really much care or anything like that, or you're waiting for news, the Saints have been interviewing top corner prospects in the 2021 draft, such as Patrick Surtain out of Alabama and Asante Samuel Jr. out of Florida State. I've been told that they got their eyes also on making an aggressive move for J.C. Horn, the presumably top corner coming out of Carolina. You know what I mean? So it makes sense when you look at it from that perspective. They've been interviewing guys. They were getting ready to make this move. So, and it makes sense in terms of when you look at the comp picks that they picked up as of yesterday. The Saints picked up 2 third-round picks because of Terry and Teddy Bridgewater. They've picked up pretty much every round except for the 5th round. They have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th round pick in the 2021 draft. That's actually really good. They own 4 of the top 105 picks going into this year's draft. That's a lot of draft capital to play with. That's a lot of chess pieces that you can trade to eventually move up. Now, finally, before I end this video, because it is running a little long here, who do you believe the Saints are going to draft? Now, releasing Janoris Jenkins, the need is big for a reliable corner. The Saints are in a good position right now to make a trade up in the draft to get one of these top prospects, such as Asante Samuel Jr. or maybe even J.C. Horn. You have 2 third-round picks. You have a 2nd round pick, and you can move up, get J.C. Horn, and you can shore up your secondary, because J.C. Horn is no slouch. Asante Samuel Jr. is also no slouch. I do believe the Saints are going to be aggressive and trade up into the top 10 and maybe even the top 15 and get J.C. Horn before, the likes of Atlanta, maybe even Carolina gets him. I don't think Tampa Bay drops a corner. I do believe they're going to draft another linebacker. They're probably going to make a play for Nick Bolton. And that's scary, given that Shaq Barrett is probably going to be out the door. They're going to be out an edge rusher. And Nick Bolton is the guy, even though he hasn't really played that edge rusher position all that well, he's still one of the top linebackers in the SEC. They may even make a play for Zaven Collins if he drops that far. So it's definitely something to really look at. Like I said, I do believe the Saints are going to trade up in the 2021 draft to pick up either Asante Samuel Jr. or J.C. Horn to pair up with Marshawn Lattimore. And speaking of Marshawn Lattimore, it is said that he and offensive tackle Ryan Ramczyk are two prospects that the Saints are very much considering giving extensions to, which will help the Saints alleviate more of that cap space to be uh, 10 plus million saved in cap space. A couple more restructures they need to do. I do believe Nick Underhill hit it when he said that they're going to release Malcolm Butler. You know what I'm saying? So it is something that they need to really consider. But I'll get into all that later. That's it for right now. As always, leave your comments down below, and I'll reply to them if necessary. I'll holler at y'all later. Deuces.